So E3 2019 has officially kicked off with Microsoft's press conference for the Xbox, and a lot of people were looking forward to this, myself included. Obviously, Xbox has a one-up on the competition this year. With no Sony at the presentation, they really had a chance to sort of shine and really showcase what Xbox is all about, what the future of Xbox holds, and what the present of Xbox holds when it comes to the Xbox One. So today we learned a lot of different stuff. We saw different Xbox One games. We saw information on Xbox Scarlett, and all in all, it was a very interesting conference. There were things I definitely really liked about the conference, but there were things I definitely did not really like about the conference. So what was the Xbox conference all about? How is Xbox shaping up when it comes to the future of the system, and what does it look like for the Xbox One? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's react to the Xbox One press conference.
Hey, RGT85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So kicking things off, they started out with a brief little sizzle reel of some of the upcoming games that they were going to be talking about in this presentation, one of those games being Battletoads, and I was definitely very interested to see more of Battletoads at this event. And I was definitely very curious to see what sort of direction Xbox was going to take this into. Like I said, with no Sony at this presentation, Xbox really had a chance to shine. And I feel like the first 30 minutes of the presentation was just absolutely top notch. You gotta remember, one thing I always sort of hark on when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox related events is that they sort of don't do great time management. These things just sort of tend to drag on, and there's lulls and there's really boring parts, but I felt like the first 30 minutes was just absolutely solid. After the sizzle reel, we got to look at the Outer Worlds, which of course is the upcoming Fallout style game from Obsidian Entertainment, and I think this game looks absolutely fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite games so far that we've seen from E3 2019. I think the combat looks really cool. I think the world that you're in looks really cool, and this game will be coming out in October, and I think that's really awesome. And this is definitely a game I'm very interested in. Now, of course, this is a multi-platform game, but still, I think this game looks great, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more from this game. A few days ago on the channel, we of course talked about Ninja Theory's new game leaking, and it was absolutely nothing like Hellblade, and a lot of people were a bit upset by that. And this game is of course called Bleeding Edge, which is a 4-on-4 sort of online competitive third-person perspective game. And honestly, I wasn't too sold on it when we first saw it, but I think the more we saw of it, that we actually saw the gameplay in this presentation, and it wasn't on this, you know, weird angled screen and stuff like that. The quality was better. I think it looks all right. Like, it's not a game that I'm gonna rush out to play or anything like that, but I may end up checking it out. I think the combat looks really fun. They showed off some really cool combos that you can do with the different characters. There are of course different characters that have different abilities when you pick them. So, you know, not a terrible looking game, but definitely not something that I really wanted to see from Ninja Theory, especially after being such a big fan of Hellblade. I would have liked to have seen them tackle another single player experience. They did specify though that they are working on a multitude of games. This is actually a game that's been in development for quite a while, so I think it looks okay. Fans of games like these, I think, will enjoy this game, and I may end up checking it out one day. We also saw a new Ori game, Ori and the Will of Wisps. It looks pretty damn good. That will be coming out in February of 2020. We learned about Minecraft Dungeons, which is a top-down Minecraft RPG action game, sort of like a Diablo style game. Looks kind of cool. We saw more of Star Wars. I actually think this Star Wars trailer was a little bit better than the Star Wars stuff we saw yesterday. We saw a lot more big epic moments, and I really sort of like that. I think this game looks pretty decent for what it is. I think it's going to be a solid game. I do still have some reservations about things like the combat, but I definitely like this trailer a bit more than what we saw yesterday coming out of EA's presentation. And then we learned about a Blair Witch game. Yes, a Blair Witch game, and that was kind of weird to me. I initially thought the game was a new Outlast game. It definitely has that same sort of aesthetic to it, and the whole camera mechanism that they showcased. I was like, great, a new Outlast, and they were like, no, it's Blair Witch, and I was like, wow, I'm back in middle school. So I don't know how I feel about that. I don't feel like the Blair Witch series really has all that much oomph to it anymore, but I guess you could probably do a decent game on it. Of course, then we got Cyberpunk 2077 information, which was obviously a huge deal for this game. We got a lot of CGI trailer for this game, and that's going to be sort of an ongoing theme with this, with CGI, but I did like when they actually showed a brief snippet of the gameplay. I think the gameplay looks absolutely phenomenal, and Keanu Reeves is going to be in this game for some reason, but I'm a big Keanu fan. I think he's an absolutely fantastic actor. The dude is 54 years old. If I am half that cool at 54 years old, I have lived a very, very good life. It was definitely cool to see Keanu out there, and it sort of embodies what Xbox likes to do with their presentation. They like a lot of frills and flair and flash, and that's kind of cool. You know, I like that sometimes in small doses. After we learned about Cyberpunk, we finally got a glimpse of Battletoads, and it has an anime art style that definitely looks a lot like Streets of Rage 4, which I anticipated this game would be like. If I talked about it on the Spawncast last night, and I was definitely in that sort of mindset that yes, this is probably going to look like Streets of Rage 4, and I think the game looks pretty cool. I think it definitely encompasses that Battletoads style and that Battletoads flair. There's going to be bike missions as well in the game that take place in sort of a Contra-like perspective, which I thought was interesting, but I think the game looks really cool. It's obviously not going to be a big AAA experience, but I think fans of Battletoads will enjoy this game and fans of retro games will enjoy this game, so it was definitely cool to see Battletoads out there. But after Battletoads, I felt like the presentation sort of had a few missteps. I felt like it sort of got into that boring part that I always seem to find in these Xbox presentations, and that's not necessarily indicative of the games themselves, but it was just kind of like, I don't know, you know, we saw a bunch of different things going on here after Battletoads. We got Game Pass coming to the PC and indies coming to the PC. We learned about Flight Simulator, we learned about Age of Empires, we learned about Wasteland 3, which actually kind of surprised me. Wasteland 3 looks really weird to me. Like, the gameplay I feel looks really good, but they sort of presented this trailer in a real slapstick style, which I don't really feel like is what Wasteland is all about. I played some of Wasteland 2, and I like that sort of dark and gritty feel, but this feels like a bit more over the top. I thought that was a kind of an interesting design decision there. And then Double Fine has joined Xbox, and I'm not the biggest Double Fine fan in the world. I think Psychonauts is cool. I'm not really a huge fan of Tim Schafer, but it was definitely nice to see Microsoft acquiring another third-party company to bolster their lineup of stuff. Then we got some stuff about Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. There's a new Dragon Ball Z game coming out. It's an action RPG. And then, of course, we got a big game, a game that I was looking forward to at this presentation, Gears 5. But somehow they managed to mess up this Gears 5 thing, in my opinion, because they didn't really show any gameplay. It was all just CGI trailers, and I'm like, shouldn't you be showing this game off? Like, when is this game coming out? Oh, the game is coming out on September 10th, and you're not showing off gameplay. I thought that was very, very strange. They did talk about a new game mode called Escape that I think looks pretty cool. It's sort of a fast-paced, frantic thing where you and two other people have to set a bomb and blow up a hive. I think that looks pretty neat, but I was definitely very perplexed, I guess would be the word, as to why they did not show off any gameplay of this game. If it's coming out in a few months, you would think this game is pretty much near ready to go. So I definitely am a bit worried about Gears 5 now. I feel like that would have been a really fun time to show it off and a really good time to show it off. Then we got into some really weird stuff. Forza and Lego are combining for Forza Horizon 4, and there's going to be Lego cars in the game. Okay, we learned more about the Gears Pop game, which honestly just looks absolutely terrible. I don't know why anyone would play this game. It's obviously a mobile game, but it's definitely kind of bastardizing the Gears franchise. But I do find it a bit ironic that you actually saw gameplay of this where you really didn't see any of Gears 5. Then we got a big announcement from Sega with Phantasy Star Online 2 coming to the Xbox One, and I thought that was honestly a pretty big deal. We learned about a game called Crossfire X, which is a very popular game, it seems like, overseas, that is finally coming to consoles. We learned about Borderlands and the new Tales game coming up, of course. Then we got into some actual tech talk with things like xCloud. Of course, xCloud is looking to overtake Google Stadia. I think xCloud will be more important than Google Stadia in the grand scheme of things, but surprisingly, they didn't really talk all that much about it. They just basically said xCloud is coming, it'll be here this year, this is sort of what to expect, but they didn't really talk about how it was going to work. Maybe they just didn't want to bore people with sort of technical specs and mumbo jumbo and stuff like that, but I do think it was kind of interesting that they didn't really talk much about xCloud. And then we got information on Xbox Scarlett, which of course is the successor to Xbox One. We actually learned about a release date for this. This is coming in holiday 2020, and we got some technical mumbo jumbo that honestly doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot to me, but I think some people will appreciate the details. We learned that this system will be capable of up to 120 FPS and 8K resolutions. It is 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. It has ray tracing as well, and so that's a big deal. Obviously, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of power going into this system, so I think fans of, you know, technology and power will really enjoy hearing this sort of stuff, but I'm more of a practicality person. I like to see how this power is going to be used, how they're going to be able to harness this power and use it in actual games. And of course, they did not show any games. They're probably going to show that at E3 2020, of course, because that's more of a timeline for this to be released. But it was definitely cool to see Project Scarlett announced and sort of talked about for the first time. And then we learned about Halo Infinite, and we got some more CGI trailer of Halo Infinite. Now, I'm not against CGI trailers. trailer, but Halo Infinite will also be launching alongside of the Xbox Scarlett. So when the Xbox Scarlett comes out, Halo will be there on day one, which I think is going to be a very big win for Microsoft with this system. It'll definitely help with console sales available on day one. We didn't get a price point for Scarlett or anything like that, but we did learn some information about Halo Infinite with a CGI trailer. It does look like this is also coming to Xbox One, and then that was it. And when I was trying to sit here and figure out whether I really liked that presentation or not, the more I thought about it, the more it just seemed like a weird presentation, almost like a filler presentation for next year's presentation when they're ready to talk about the Xbox Scarlett. We didn't hear about any sort of big surprises. Most of this stuff was kind of already known. Of course, a game like Bleeding Edge was leaked, so I'm not going to consider that, to be a ruined surprise or anything like that. I am putting that in the surprise realm. But really, there wasn't all that much information that we didn't know about. It was kind of about games that we already knew about, which is fine, but a lot of these games like Gears 5 and Halo Infinite, they just had CGI trailers, and I just thought that was really strange. The more and more I think about it, I feel like Xbox may have made a bit of a misstep here. A lot of people were hoping for something Banjo related or Conquer related. What is Rare working on? We don't know, and we obviously didn't find out about it at this E3. I think my main takeaway from this presentation is just the fact that the sun is definitely setting on the Xbox One. I feel like Microsoft is definitely envisioning things like xCloud and things, of course, like Project Scarlett to be the future of Xbox, and they've sort of realized that the Xbox One just didn't quite work out, and that's sort of the feeling I'm taking away from this. Yes, there were some great third-party games that were showcased for the system, the Xbox One. Yes, we learned about some games like Gears 5 and Halo Infinite, but the fact that we got CGI trailers for this, maybe it just shows that they're not really all that interested in talking about Gears 5. Maybe they don't expect Gears 5 to be all that successful, and that's kind of weird to me. Halo Infinite, I can understand. That's not coming out till holiday 2020, but Gears 5 coming up so soon and to not have any real sort of gameplay for this just seems like a bit of a misstep in my opinion. All in all, I thought the presentation was solid, but not spectacular. I felt like Xbox really had a chance to shine this year, to show off some big guns, to talk about things that, of course, Sony cannot counteract, and they just really didn't manage to do that this year. So all in all, a decent presentation, a decent conference, but maybe a bit lackluster in my opinion. But I want to know what you guys have to think about this in the comments section down below. Did you enjoy this press conference? Did you enjoy the few surprises that we got, like Phantasy Star Online 2 coming to the Xbox One, which will probably come to other systems too, but I thought that was a pretty cool announcement, and of course all the other crazy stuff that we saw. And as always guys, thank you for checking out this video. Make sure you guys come back later tonight. We're going to talk about the Bethesda press conference, and then of course all sorts of press conferences that happened during E3 this week. And as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. I lost my train of thought there. I just had a pizza arrive and I'm very hungry, so I'm about to eat it while I'm editing this. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.